Hi there, my name is Kevin Renton and welcome to QuickFire from Volt. This is where we put higher education marketers on the hot seat and subject them to 20 rapid questions with the goal of understanding what makes them tick, what makes them successful, and what are their goals for the future. So in the crossfire today is Ethan Braden, Senior VP and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Purdue University. Welcome, Ethan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Okay, well, we'll see if you're thankful at the end of the 20 questions. But here we go. So, rapid questions. First thing, give us your elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
So, I'm Ethan Braden. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Purdue University. Been here since November of 18 when I moved up here with my wife, and at that point, my son. We've since added a daughter from Indianapolis, where I was there for 10 years at Eli Lilly and Company. I'm fortunate to report to President Mitch Daniels, our former two-term governor of Indiana, and I lead the marketing and communications effort now for Purdue University, a top 10 most innovative school in the nation for the last 4 years. I lead of 70 individuals in the positioning, the promotion, the protection of our precious Purdue University brand.
So I wanted to work in higher education because
it's an incredible playground for great marketing. 1,000 post-secondary degree granting institutions in the US right now. So you have to know what you stand for. You have to differentiate. You have to appeal to target audiences. And it's a place where there's a ton of clay to mold something beautiful through great marketing fundamentals and discipline. So an incredible opportunity to utilize the marketing skills for the collective realization of our vision and our goals.
In that playground, what's the marketing tool you can't live without?
Probably different than some folks. Mine's a book. It's Tim Calkin's Breakthrough Marketing Plans. It's a North Star of how we plan and how we think about going from strategy to strategic initiatives to tactics, instead of, I think, falling into the trap that higher ed often does, which is just random acts of marketing tactics.
What marketing technology do you use?
Probably not as many as some. We're not fully into a CRM like some, but we do use Marketing Cloud. We use Delivra. We're Sprout Social clients. We're Brandwatch clients. We're Brand Bastion clients. We use Workfront for project management. So there's a host, but it's a sophistication that we've evolved and grown over the last few years.
Great. In the next 5 years, I'd like to
build a higher education juggernaut, which is the portfolio of Purdue University to include Purdue Global. Right? We've got a West Lafayette campus. We've got a couple of regionals, but really the next stage of the land grant mission is taking the Purdue University brand and transcending state lines with technology. And we'll do that in the form of Purdue Global. And the other piece of that in the front side of that portfolio is incorporating the graduates of our now 3 Purdue Polytechnic high schools that we've crafted in the state of Indiana to create a pathway for students that were usually underserved by high school education and underrepresented in higher education.
I admire the marketing at.
I had no higher ed experience coming into this job, and I was quickly enamored with and impressed by the work that Dan Dillon and team have done at Arizona State. He's in a new role now, but I think the work that he's done over there, the work that he did there for 6 years to really revolutionize the marketing, the vision he had for that team, the way he's grown it. I admire a lot of the things they've done, and I've emulated a lot of the steps and decisions he made there.
Is there any marketing outside of higher ed that you look at and you've tried to bring into your work?
We mimic a lot of other individuals. I mean, we hopefully we're very curious, and we're reading and assessing a ton. We're really fortunate that recently we were named a brand that matters by Fast Company magazine, the only university in the nation to be named, to be selected, and the only entity in the state of Indiana. But we look at those brands, right? We're looking at the Yetis and the Zooms and the Fords and the General Motors and the 3Ms, and we're constantly stealing their ideas, their insights, their big ideas, their approaches, and saying whether or not we can run that play here. So I'll steal and borrow ideas all day long versus have to create them ourselves. And we look into industry a lot to do that.
The biggest challenge facing higher education marketers are?
Go back to this notion of, what are you focused on and what are you working on? And is it, a collective contribution to the realization and the vision of the college, the department, and ultimately the university? Or is it random acts of marketing day by day, oftentimes driven by the requests of non-marketers? Are you working on posters and flyers and apps and podcasts that are unnecessary? Are you working on strategic contributions to the strategic initiatives that ultimately contribute to the realization of whatever those goals are, ultimately for the university? So it's being the driver of great marketing, of brand, of experiences for students and your constituencies, not being driven by the daily asks and requests and needs and the Dilbert perception that marketing is just liquor and guessing.
What advice would you give to any marketer that wants to drive the marketing or is being driven by stakeholders within the institution?
Yeah, I go back, you asked me the tool, right? Tim Calkins' breakthrough marketing plans, it starts with really understanding what the terminal objective or the goal is. I need to understand my president or my boards or my deans or my department heads or my boss's goal so that I can ensure that my daily contributions, my marketing efforts, our strategies, our tactics, our measurements, our investments are laddered to the achievement of that. And if they're not, it shouldn't be done. And I need to compel and communicate, what's the difference, right? They have the great story of the great British 98 rowing team. Does it make the boat go faster, right? I'm going to work on stuff that makes the boat go faster. And if it doesn't, why are we doing it? And so that sort of understanding is the candor necessary, I think, to influence us working on things that matter versus those that don't.
Okay, my favorite social media channel is, and why?
I hate them all. I'd love to be off of them.
TikTok user?
What's that? No, I have it. I constantly tell my wife I hate them all.
Yeah.
But I probably use Twitter more than anything. I use Reddit a fair amount to get the voice of the student and to keep a pulse, on things that are mountains versus molehills. But I use Twitter more than anything. And I do think there's logic and there's magic in who you follow. You can have a pretty good Twitter experience and a very learning one if you follow the right people and you choose to divorce yourself from the wrong ones.
Which social media channel do you think your students are on?
Well, we see it. There's an explosion with TikTok. We still see great engagement with Instagram. And in fact, our Boiler ambassadors have grown a very positive channel in just a year there with student generated content and very authentic content on their part. So those two are probably most that our students are sitting on, though. We get great participation in Reddit, and they certainly tell us how they feel. So those are two. That's three really, but I can't discount YouTube either. It's so powerful, and we've spent a lot of time over the last year really growing our sophistication and our content and trying to remove friction there from people being able to watch and engage with the content that we want them to see. So it's key as well.
My biggest professional achievement is?
Well, I cited the Fast Company honor, but that's second. The biggest professional achievement I've had, and it's not lip service, is the team that we've been able to create over the last 3 years at Purdue. We've flipped 33 individuals of my initial 54 when I got here 3 years ago. We've hired 25 people since COVID began during a hiring freeze. So make sense of that. And so now I've got a group of 70 who I'd put up against anybody, both in higher ed and otherwise. There's just this coalition of people who tremendously care. They're good marketers and they want to win. And so this team makes me more proud than anything I've ever done in my career.
What's working in higher ed right now?
What's working? I think the focus on the student experience, I think focus on deep student understanding, the curiosity that's letting us walk in their shoes and understanding what they want, what they don't, their frustrations, their aspirations, their tensions, their motivations, and then using our marketing to advance that through change, create, reinforce, and change in some instances, attitudes, beliefs, behaviors. That's the heart of marketing, but it's got to start with our constituencies, and our customer, quote unquote, turns over every 4 years in some respect. And so deeply understanding who they are, what they want, how they're engaging, again, addressing those motivations, tensions, aspirations. We've got to deeply know that versus just operate from the gut or the student we think we know. So being very inquisitive, being very curious, being very empathetic, and letting our marketing be driven by that understanding, those that are doing that well, I think, are succeeding.
The opposite. What's not working in higher ed right now?
I go back to we're just going to throw things against the wall and see what sticks. We're going to give you posters, banners, flyers. Everyone needs an app. Everyone needs a podcast. Everyone needs a website. This just sort of disparate Dilbert, marketing is just liquor and guessing. Those schools, those environments where they're stuck in that 30 years ago, 20 years ago mentality are doing themselves and their brand a disservice because it's competitive. And right now you need to be distinct. You need to be differentiated. You need to be valuable to gain, that student and that student's tuition or their parents' dollars to come see you. And so those that are, running that same antiquated play, I don't like their chances long term.
The future of higher education will be?
Great book out right now. It's not lifelong learning, but rather long life learning. I think that's the key as we get older. As life expectancy increases, right? The things you learn from 18 to 22 are not going to suffice when you're working at 70, if you so choose, when you're living to 100 or you're living to 120. And so the future of higher education is the exits and the entries to higher education for people across their lives, across their careers. And when we make that hard, then we won't be as competitive. When we make that easy and frictionless and attractive, people will come to us to upgrade, upskill, et cetera. So who's going to be in that space to do that extremely well? That's the future in my mind.
Okay, Ethan, what has been a key to your personal success?
I guess it's the coupling of curiosity and hard work. I'm deeply curious. I read like crazy. I want to master a subject matter and know it deeply that I'm passionate about. And that's why I need to work in spaces where I'm truly interested and passionate about. But I think most of what I've been able to accomplish, at least personally, what I've been able to bring to the table myself has been learned, been learned through hard work, and it's evolved through being curious.
Hardest part of my job is?
I guess I'll use a Mitch Daniels quote, and I don't remember where he takes it from, but he uses it at times. He says it's lonely at the top, but there's nobody there to hear it. It's true, right? Like it can be lonely at the top, and you're shielding your people from feelings, from feedback, from unfairness, whatever it may be. And that's the job. Leaders always have arrows in their back. And you got to be willing to play that role if you want that role. And so you got to remember it when times are tough.
Where do you go for that advice or that outlet to talk to somebody?
Yeah, I've got a few. So my wife is tremendous. She gets an earful every night when I get home about the day. And so she's tremendous at that. I have a dear friend, mentor, executive coach in the form of a guy by the name of Mark Ferrara, who was at Lilly for 27 years or so. And then now he works for Disney. And he's just my Yoda. And the influence he's had on me in the last year or so from a professional development standpoint and just personal development has been incredible. And then I got a couple friends who are the epitome of being supportive of the success of others versus ever being competitive or combative, right? They want me to win and I want them to win. And those are special people. So I've got a handful that I go to fill my tank and to bend an ear.
I love my job because
this job is incredible. I have an incredible product. We're changing lives, right? It's no disrespect to Hershey's, but we're not making chocolate around here. Producing incredible graduates, we're changing lives, and we're producing incredible research. So that again, the clay to mold something very beautiful from a marketing standpoint, from a product standpoint, is infinite, and it's incredible. And then I have incredible people around me on my team, my colleagues at the leadership level. We're just blessed with some people who really care about Purdue. They're really good at their jobs and they want to win. So I have a get-to job, not a got-to job for sure.
It's your first job in higher ed.
Yeah. Was
it everything that you expected it to be, hoped it would be? Has it delivered on the promise?
It's incredible. I'm not sure I knew what to expect.
Okay.
And I've been pretty honest that I came into a pretty dilapidated, emaciated, and antiquated marketing environment here. And so there was a lot of change necessary. There was a lot of change management and championing necessary. But what I love about it is it's an incredibly complex marketing environment, right? 13 colleges at Purdue University, 50,000 here, 600,000 alums. We didn't do a lot of cross-brand learning, a lot of cross-brand insight comparison at Lilly. But here you have the chance to say, hey, what are we learning about students in the college education versus the students in the College of Engineering? What's similar? What's different? What are the insights? What can we do to really to come across as a symphony and not a cat running through a wind chime factory? And being able to compare across is so powerful from a marketing standpoint, but it's also complex. So it's engaging and intellectually stimulating. But yeah, it's lived up to everything I've wanted, and it's more similar to industry than I ever thought it would be.
On that note, Ethan Braden, Chief Marketing Communications Officer at Purdue, thanks for your time and thanks for being on QuickFire with Volt.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all. Thanks. Nice to meet you.